This week we are talking about feminine style in fall and how to dress for fall when you kind of hate it. If you have a style that is similar to mine, you might not love the typical fall colors, and also they might just not look very good on you. Obviously, if you love them and you don't care about what your best colors are, by all means just wear them and enjoy them. When you don't feel super harmonious in that typical fall palette or fall wardrobe, what in the world should you wear? How can you still enjoy the season? But I kind of wanted to just share with you guys where my creative inspiration is coming from right now, what I'm trying to emulate with my fall wardrobe. A lot of these things I don't think you have to do exactly perfectly, and I think if you are obsessed with doing them perfectly, sometimes it can kind of take the joy out of it. So I encourage you guys to, when you're looking for inspiration and are wondering about what are my best colors, what is like my essence or whatever, and what style do I want to present myself in, I would encourage you guys to not just get super obsessed about having it perfect, because in every season your essence might look slightly different. The best way to describe my authentic style would be romantic feminine with a little bit of fun in it and the occasional pops of color. Whether or not you want to call it like romantic feminine or ethereal ingenue, this is my jumping off point for my style. What is happening in fall that I can apply that to my style, and then I actually look for resources that are going to be my inspiration for my wardrobe during that season that are kind of the fall version of my style. I'm taking pictures for inspiration that are actually not outfits, they're my essence, but like a fall version of that maybe. So on top of being inspired by the runway, I also am just looking for images that make me feel something and just feel authentic to my personal style, and are maybe a little bit more timeless for my style outside of current trends. Since fall is earthy, I'm going to lean in towards places that are a bit more earthy, ethereal. So in my mind, that is like Goddess of the Forest. So I'm going to my images that I've saved for kind of the feel that I enjoy. So it's a little bit cottagecore, honestly, but maybe more of like a dark version of cottagecore. I would call it like storybook sunset, enchanted woods. So I'm gonna lean into, for fall, I'm going to lean into dressing like an enchanted forest. And the creatures, the magical creatures that would live inside an enchanted forest. Okay, I know this sounds so stupid, but bear with me. For feminine style in fall, I feel like this really makes a lot of sense. So you're going deeper, but feminine deep isn't necessarily like traditional fall colors. It's a bit more romantic. I think you have more berries, you have more greens, there's more lushness to it, but it's still maybe made out of materials that are a bit lighter. In these pictures, you see a lot of texture, you see a lot of blending of all these earthy colors together, but you also still have a lot of those feminine colors, but it might be a different depth of those feminine colors. Now, as far as what my best colors are, they're not always going to be my best colors, but I'm going to lean in to the ones that feel like they're going to look the best on me. This is just inspiration. I'm not going to try to dress like a forest every single day of my life. It's just a place that I can kind of build off what I'm doing. But what I am going to do is when I like pair things together, I'm going to look for an overall outfit that makes me feel the same way that this picture does. When we're looking at like the contrast and saturation and tones, as well as the colors that actually make up the picture, I'm going to try to emulate that with my outfits. With my outfits, with my makeup, with my hair, with my jewelry, with my accessories that I choose. This is less about trying to make outfits with a lot of trends and more about trying to create a feel, trying to follow your essence in a season that your essence doesn't naturally like feel harmonious with. When I'm thinking about my style, the version of fall that I think about is not the pumpkin patch. I'm doing a different version of fall, which for me is wildflower fields in the season of fall. Lots of textures, lots of greens, still pops of color. Rocky beaches that are colder, that would be more of my like transitional inspiration. For a while I was pretty scared of deep colors because I knew that I just didn't like how navy looked in a very like classic style. It made me feel just so sad. But instead I'm doing a version of the blues and the greens that feels more romantic and it feels more feminine. If your style is feminine, don't be afraid of bringing in deeper colors. Just do your version of a deep color. So if you don't want to wear black, wear your best blue or purple or some of those colors that are just more naturally feminine. Or experiment with that and experiment with ways of creating a look that feels deep, but it's your version of a deep look. This doesn't feel super fall to me, but it also doesn't feel super summery either, in my opinion. So with the greens and the pinks and the blues, I feel like we are just transitioning to fall where it's that in-between time. I feel like this is a very good transitional palette and look. So when we think about taking inspiration from actual pictures that are not outfits, we're looking at like the lines, the contrast, like the saturation and the colors and how those things are combined to create the picture. That probably sounds sort of confusing to like translate onto your body, but in the same way that these pictures that I'm taking inspiration from, the style of the art is more impressionist. It's not like super realist. So the edges are blurred, the edges are soft, they're not like sharp. So the line is soft, it's still feminine. And then my neckline is especially soft because it's just draped, it's just sitting there. So it has a very similar feel. It's very feminine, but it's softly feminine and it's just flowing along my body. Right now with this top, the fabric lays in such a way where there is some intricacies visually. It lays in a way where there's movement, there's texture, so to speak, even when your actual material isn't textured, if that makes sense. There are certain materials that are going to read visually similar to what you're seeing in these more antique-y, impressionist, feminine, tulle-like materials. Read quite textured, but they're also very airy. Just how they lay ends up looking very similar to what I see in these pictures. So I can interpret how to do this style by wearing those materials that look similar. Certain ways clothing is cut, like we already discussed Zimmerman and the layering of different fabrics and cuts that they have. It seems very textured in the same way that my inspiration does. For my wardrobe in fall, I look for more lace, more detail, tulle, Things that while they're covering the body more are still going to seem somewhat light and somewhat textured. Instead of having a very minimalist, cohesive outfit where there's either color blocking or one monochrome thing and there isn't a lot of intricacy to the design, I tend to gravitate towards things that have more intricacy, that have more cuts that kind of flow along the curves of the body more, because it visually creates more interest to the eye and has more of that romantic feel. For each element of style, follow what the picture is doing. Let the picture be your guide. My pictures are feminine but wild and highly textured with fading feminine colors, and so I'm going to use those things as my thing to go off of more so than my stereotypes of fall. But at the same time, these things that I've picked are definitely somewhat reminiscent of what we assume to be fall. Just be creative with it and look towards the things that really inspire you and your personal style, besides clothing and outfits. If you're wondering why your style is not coming across the way that you would like it to come across, a great exercise to do is to gather pictures that feel your style, that are other things, and look at the artists, how the artist created that feel and tone and mood. And do the exact same thing, but on your body with your clothes. Texture, color, shape, color combinations, etc. I'm really enjoying warm light neutrals with light mossy greens. These types of colors, they're not necessarily my perfect colors, but you decide and discern what is helpful for you. Like, when do the rules become not helpful? Especially in fall, I have to kind of bend the rules a little bit to also still enjoy dressing. I also take reference from the deeper parts of my hair and the deeper parts of my eyes. So if I don't have the perfect color for my overall appearance, or it doesn't totally like pop or whatever, I might just look to one feature to find reference. And in fall and winter, that is something that I do often. I often wear blues, greens, poppy navies that are similar to my eye colors, as well as neutrals when it comes to dark neutrals, the low lights of my hair. So in order to create my own version of depth, even though I'm pretty fair, I look to what depth is inside my own being. And the deepest parts of my features would be the lowlights of my hair, or my eyebrows, or the undertones of the shadows of my face. I look to those for what my darker, deeper parts of fall and winter would be. Currently, I am loving looking towards the colors of naturally occurring minerals and crystals, mostly for vanity reasons, honestly. Like, if I want to make my eyes stand out, someone described them as being the color jade. I should look for colors that are also minerals, the things that like jade would also be associated with. And I actually really love the idea of taking inspiration from all of that, because you have a whole different world of other textures there, and other things that, like, if I saw a pattern that looked like that, looked like how like rocks would be, that's not trendy at all and could just become a part of my style. While crystals are quite trendy. Something that I have been thinking about when it comes to my inspiration for deep fall, like very just true fall, whenever it really is just cooled down and everything is dead. I've been looking at pictures of moths and some of that like darker looking cottagecore stuff. So you have still a lot of lace, a lot of like creams and whites and feminine stuff, but you really do have a lot of neutral browns. And you can see pictures of like those moths and like skulls, and I don't know, you could almost say like foresty, witchy or like dark fairy vibe. Again, with patterns, the natural occurring patterns like cocoons and chrysalises, or the patterns of butterflies. I grew up in the mountains. I really love those images of rich greens with fog. And so when you think about a very ethereal style with lots of whites and grays and just kind of the mirage effect or monochrome or whatever, that comes across similar to like pictures of that. Lastly, remember that all of this stuff is supposed to be helpful. Only use it until it is no longer helpful. My subscriber count is really inching its way up there, but as soon as I hit 1,000 subscribers, I am qualified to be monetized. So that's really exciting. We're just kind of waiting for those subscribers, and so if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I would love to make more videos. That's all. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Problems. I don't know. Also, if you know me in person, please don't send me questions because I don't want to know who I know that's watching me. Ew.